Welcome back, baseball fans, to Baseball Chat. It's your boy Benji here, and we had an amazing trade deadline, except for the Yankees. We'll get back into that. But everyone else, we're going to talk about them. I got to give my boy Joseph a call here. Let's get into it.
Benji, the trade deadline, unbelievable. Yankees did absolutely nothing. Well, technically, they did make two trades, but realistically, they did nothing. But before we get into it, we have to mention something. The deadline this year was at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we said in our last episode that the deadline was 4 p.m. Eastern, which it was for many years. But I guess this year it was 6 p.m. Eastern.
They wanted to give teams a couple more hours to try to make some trades, and there
But
were.
I guess that didn't help for the Yankees anyways, because they didn't do anything.
It did not. We'll go over those two trades really quickly right now. They traded for Kenyon Middleton, a middle reliever who was part of the Chicago White Sox. And again, they did not need any bullpen help whatsoever, but why not? And then they literally just gave cash considerations to the Rangers for another reliever. For Spencer Howard, I don't get why, but let's talk about the rest of the league and what they did to get better and not lament on
I guess
how.
we should talk about the rest of the league because I guess the Yankees are just going with what they have. And I guess they said, look around the room, this is it. And if you want it, it's yours for the taking. Because at a certain point, you have stars in your lineup, and I guess it's up to them if they want to produce. So Benji and I put together a list of not every single trade, but a good amount of the trades that we believe are pretty impactful. So the first one on our list is Lucas Giolito to the Angels.
The Lucas Giolito trade I really like because it gives the Angels a nice 1-2 punch of Shohei Ohtani and Lucas Giolito. They also did get a reliever, Ronaldo Lopez, in that trade. So I believe it gives one of my predictions was Angels will be buyers. And you know what? Getting him, that was definitely a buyer move. And next up on the list, let's talk about David Robertson to the Marlins.
Yeah, I guess
Just
the Mets are doing what the Mets do best, and that's screwing things up. So David Robertson is gone. He's on his way to the Marlins, and I'd say that's probably good for the Marlins, and not the Mets.
Because David Robertson, as lifelong Yankee fans will know, he was a core part of like the early 2010s team. He was a great reliever that learned the cutter from Mo. And I was kind of hoping the Yankees would trade for him, but unfortunately he went to the Marlins. And you know what? They got better. And the Marlins are a great young team. They have a chance to sneak into the playoffs. We have Kendall Graveman going back to the Astros. He was on the Astros, I believe, in the 2022 World Series. He's gone back to them, and he's a great reliever. That's definitely going to help them a lot. And that was really the first sign. That was the second sign that White Sox were selling this year.
Another trade is Lance Lynn, Joe Kelly going to the Dodgers.
Yeah, so Lance Lynn, Joe Kelly's back in Los Angeles, and Lance Lynn adds another veteran presence to that team, which the Dodgers are basically full of very good veterans that help the team right now. So another big trade was Max Scherzer going to the Rangers. They get a proven veteran righty who has been a great postseason pitcher. And before he left the Mets, he had some choice words to say about their front office, which I will let Joseph explain.
Yeah, he definitely did. And to me, honestly, I think this stuff is unheard of. You really don't hear so much of this front office talk from players. It's pretty rare. Scherzer said, according to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, quote from Scherzer, I was like, okay, are we reloading for 2024? And Epler, the GM, says, no, we're not. Basically, our vision is now for 2025 to 2026. 25 at the earliest, more like 26. We're going to be making trades around that. And Scherzer went on to say, I was like, so the team is not going to be pursuing free agents this offseason or assemble a team that can compete for a World Series next year? Epler said, no, we're not going to be signing the upper echelon guys. We're going to be on the smaller deals within free agency. 24 is now looking to be more of a kind of transitory year.
I think that the Mets kind of had this idea that, hey, you know what? We have Steve Cohen. He's going to spend a lot of money on this team, and we're going to buy up every big free agent that we can. And you know what? That didn't work this year. So they decided to regroup, decided, hey, you know what? Instead of buying up all the free agents, let's stock up on our farm system, wait on the youngsters for a year or two, give them some experience, and bring them up. In my mind, they're kind of doing what the Yankees tried to do, what the Yankees did in the '90s, and they let the youngsters develop. They became a dynasty, and the Mets have some very good youngsters. So this could have been, even if 2024 is a transitionary year, it's a good move, I think, for the future. But you don't say that to your star pitcher. You don't say that out loud, basically.
It's especially to Max Scherzer, who I wouldn't say he has some attitude, but he's got opinions and he's not afraid to share them. Anyways, Benji, moving on from the Mets front office, and happy for Max Scherzer though that he has a place where he can actually compete.
He's been a very competitive pitcher his whole career, and everywhere he goes, he just seems to win, or at least like get to the World Series. So now he's got another chance to do that with the Rangers, and I wish him well. I wish him luck. And another trade after the Max Scherzer one was Jordan Hicks going to the Toronto Blue Jays, and that's a big uh, boost for the Blue Jays, big loss for the Yankees, because you know what? It's another 100+ mile per hour pitcher for at the back end of the bullpen for the Blue Jays, and this was the first sign that the Cardinals were selling this year. So I think with this trade, it's just kind of vaults the Blue Jays into, hey, you know what? We can potentially get into that fifth, sixth seed for the wild card.
Another great trade for the Rangers is Jordan Montgomery. He's going to be heading over there, former Yankee, and but most recently former Cardinal. I think overall, just a great pitcher. Great, just adding someone else. He's a lefty, and yep, the Rangers are loading up. Kind of something that you get kind of jealous of.
Because right now, yeah, the Rangers now have Max Scherzer, Montgomery, Nathan Eovaldi, Dane Dunning, John Gray, and
You
I
just
think,
get this feeling that they want to win.
I mean, the closest they have come to winning was 2010 and 2011, and 2011 obviously was the closest they came to winning. They were a strike away twice from winning the first ever World Series, and this is the first time since. So they are definitely loading up to try to win.
Benji, Randall Gridget, CJ Crone to the Angels. So CJ Crone, I know, is going back to the Angels. He used to be an Angel, and he's got a lot of power. Why don't you talk about Randall?
So Randall Grichuk this year does not have the same amount of power as CJ Cron, but he does get on base at a much higher pace. He's also batting 307 this year, and his on base percentage is 365. So he's having a terrific season so far, and I believe that the Angels are in it to try to just stay alive in the AL West. With the Astros getting better, also with the Rangers getting better, and the wild card. You now have Baltimore as the top of the AL East, but then you have the Rays, Blue Jays, and even Boston is gonna get better soon. So they needed some trade, and Grichuk had been linked to the Yankees, but Cashman decided to twiddle his thumbs today and do nothing.
A team that decided not to do nothing was the D-backs. Paul Sewald headed over to the D-backs. They got him from Seattle. The D-backs are trying to make a run for it, and now they got pretty good reliever.
Actually, yeah, this year he is 3-1 with a 2.93 ERA. Any ERA under 3 is really good for a reliever, and he also has 21 saves. So they got a pretty good closer, and you know what?
They
They
got a
definitely,
pitcher that knows what he's doing.
yeah, and surprisingly enough, this is something to stick it to the Mets because he used to be a Met.
Another trade that the Mets made is they're sending Mark Canha to the Brewers. And again, just offloading, see ya. There's another one gone. There's not really much to say about this, I guess, besides for the fact that he'll probably help out the Brewers. I think they're making a run.
Yeah, they're only a half game back of the Reds for the division lead, and they are currently, I believe, third team in the wild card, so they're the sixth place team to make the playoffs. Okay, the Brewers made it to playoffs in 2021, but they lost in the NLDS, so no one really cared.
Well, we wish them the best of luck. Brad Hand headed to the Braves, first place Braves.
First place by a wide margin. Um, but going with back to the Braves, they lead the NL East by 11 games over the Philadelphia Phillies. So they have it looks like they will be the team to beat. They also lead the NL, the entire NL, and actually they lead the whole MLB with the best record in baseball. The Braves getting Brad Hand, a solid lefty reliever, will definitely help the back end of the bullpen.
Yep, good for the Braves.
Yeah,
That's just what you
good for
do.
Braves.
You fill in the gaps, or you just add more ammunition to your team. That's the way to do it. The Rangers, again, Austin Hedges heading over there, needed a backup catcher, got a backup catcher. I mean, this is all like textbook moves. It's like, I'm already doing really well. I already made some other moves, but you know what? I need to make some more moves just in case. What if my catcher goes out? What if my backup catcher goes out? I got someone now.
For all of you wondering if we are throwing shade at Brian Cashman, yes, we are.
So we'll hit Cashman harder another day. But for today, we still have to talk about the very interesting trade that the Dodgers made because they tried to get Eduardo Rodriguez from Detroit, but Erod, as they call him, he vetoed the trade because he didn't want to go to the Dodgers. So the Dodgers had to pivot, and they got Benji. Who did they get?
They got Ryan Yarbrough of the Kansas City Royals, who was formerly of the Tampa Bay Rays. Very underrated pitcher, Ryan Yarbrough. He'll either go like 7 complete innings or get shelled very quickly. So, but very underrated pitcher. And I think he'll help the Dodgers out a lot. Now on to the next trade. The Padres, who we did think were going to sell, they decided to bring in Rich Hill and G-Man Choi to their team to bring in some veteran presence.
And when we're talking about veteran presence, we're talking about an old guy because Rich Hill is pretty old. I think he's like 43. I could be
He,
wrong. Benji's probably going to
uh,
look him up right now, unless he already knows. But G-Man Choi was a Yankee for, I don't know, a very short period of time. But
uh,
he's been on the Rays and he made the Yankees pay a lot. But Benji, how old is Rich Hill?
you are correct. He is 43, and he pitched 14 games for the Yankees back in 2014.
The D backs made another move. They got Tommy Pham. But Benji, I'm not quite sure I know where Tommy Pham came from. Could you tell me? Can you tell all of us? Because at this point, I don't think we mentioned this team yet.
No, we haven't mentioned them enough. He did come from the New York Mets, and you know what? They were just having a fire sale. They're like, you get a player, you get a player, you get a player.
But don't worry, Benji, because Epler said it's not a fire sale. And, they're not just handing people out.
No, you're right. They did have some no trades, like Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Francisco Alvarez. Those three were definitely untouchable, but it seemed like almost everyone else could have been traded.
They basically traded everyone that they picked up in the offseason. Pretty much.
Sweet. No, pretty much. I think all. No, I'd have to look at the offseason, but pretty sure they just traded away everyone. But the next move we're going to talk about is going to be Paul DeJong going to the Blue Jays from the Cardinals.
Another great pickup for the Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays needed a backup catcher, a backup shortstop, as Bo Bichette is out for a little bit. So they definitely needed a backup shortstop there, and he will help the Blue Jays out, just like his teammate Jordan Hicks.
Benji, Josh Bell is heading to the Marlins, and that's great. That's good for the Marlins. Something interesting happened with Gene Segura today. Why don't you tell all of our baseball fans what happened?
So the trade was Josh Bell for Gene Segura and a prospect, Khalil Watson. And I believe Cleveland really just wanted the prospect. And the Marlins are like, okay, you know what? We will only trade you this prospect if you take Gene Segura. So it didn't seem like Cleveland wanted him either, and the Marlins definitely didn't want him. Cleveland decided, hey, you know what? We'll take him, and we'll dump him off. You know what? We'll take him. Bye. Just leave. We don't want you. We want the prospect, but you are a package deal. And I
When do
wish
you
him
think they told
all
him
the
that
best.
information? Like after he started like relocating and everything and thinking he's going to be in one city?
So I'm not sure. I got this information actually from Instagram that maybe 30, 40 minutes after the trade had been completed that he was being DFA'd.
Well, hopefully they told him that that was the plan. So
So honest and Gene Segura, he's a little older. He's a middle infielder. So I think Cashman being what he does, he might go after him. We don't know. If he does, you know what? I like Gene Segura. I hope they get him. Jack Flaherty going to the Orioles from the Cardinals. Flaherty was their best pitcher over the past couple of years. For St. Louis to just get rid of him like that to a contender seemed a little odd, but I guess they got a few good
the
prospects.
Cardinals they're actually offloading. I mean, they didn't offload everyone, but, they got rid of a good amount of people.
I mean, they're in dead last in the NL, in the NL Central. They're the third worst team in the NL period. So they knew they weren't going to compete. They decided to get rid of anyone they could.
Benji, last on our list, the Yankee killer, Justin Verlander, headed over to the Astros. And I wonder where he came from. Probably, a team we haven't mentioned again, right?
No, we haven't mentioned them about 5 or 6 times tonight. I could be
Okay,
wrong.
honestly, I think the Mets did this just to stick it to the Yankees. And you know what? Benji agrees 100% with that.
Yes, I agree that the Mets did it just to stick it to the Yankees because also the Astros and Verlander will pitch against the Yankees this weekend. And Verlander just threw 6 innings of a 1-run ball against them last week. So the Mets are like, hey, you know what? He can do it again.
Well, that's everyone on our list. There were obviously more trades. You can look them up if you want to. A great source is Score Mobile on the trade tracker section that they have there, or pretty much anywhere on the internet. You can find this information. Now we're going to wrap it up with the winners and losers. Benji's going to take us through that.
And so right now we're gonna start with a few of the winners. Definitely the Rangers, I think, are the biggest winners in this, and that
Absolutely. Absolutely. Number one, if you ask me.
no, I agree completely. Look, they had a good rotation, but Ivaldi is on the injured list right now. DeGrom is out for the season. So they're basically just rocking with Dane Dunning and John Gray, both solid starters, but they needed more. So what did they do? Here's Max Scherzer. Here's Jordan Montgomery. And you know what? They got Chapman in the bullpen backing it up. So, and they still have a great offense this year. I think top 5 in runs scored that I can check out later. But the Rangers were definitely the number one winner of the trade. I actually do think the Angels were one of the winners of the trade deadline with getting Giolito, getting CJ Cron back, also picking up Randall Grichuk to provide some much needed support for Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. They were definitely in need of another outfielder and another first baseman. So I think the Angels, what they did, what they're able to do, pushes them to a potential playoff spot. First time we'll see Mike Trout in the playoffs in 10 years. I hope. I do want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs.
Yeah, if we're not watching the Yankees for some strange reason, one that I can't even think of, honestly, I don't see why the Yankees wouldn't be there.
We'll discuss
But
this next week.
I'd love to watch Mike Trout. And well, as you guys heard from me before, I'm a big Mike Trout fan, so love to see that.
We would absolutely love to see Trout in the playoffs for the first time since 2014.
Or
So
in a Yankee uniform.
yes, but our manager won't do that. Our general
A Yankee
manager won't do
fan could
that
dream.
until
A Yankee fan could dream.
I wish you luck in your dream. I dream about Ronald Acuna Jr. coming to the Yankees.
Oh God. So for the losers, I'd probably say, sadly, that the Yankees are probably the biggest loser of this trade deadline because their expectations every year is to win a championship. They are positioned to do that every year. They have all the resources, but obviously it takes effort. And for some reason, they don't seem to have. I guess they don't want it as bad as the Rangers want it because the Rangers made a lot of moves and they're like, you know what? We haven't won in a long time. We want to win. The Yankees
Well,
haven't won in a long time.
the difference is though is that Cashman has become complacent. So another loser definitely. I think the Mets honestly, and I'm not saying that as a hater of the Mets. I'm just saying, you know what? They
No, no,
signed.
no. You're right. You're right. I never even thought about it that way. I was thinking of other teams, but you're right. Well, they're always a loser. Honestly, they lose in Mets fashion, which is always very mind-boggling. Like, what are they thinking?
I mean, tonight was a perfect Mets loss, and they were up 6-4 in the 10th, and they lost on a walk-off balk.
That is the definition of how the Mets lose. That is what happens. If you ever baseball fans, let me tell you something. If you ever watch any other team besides for the team that you root for, watch the Mets and you will watch things that you've never seen before that you wouldn't even think are possible, the way that they could lose the game. So if you're ever feeling like your team is losing, just watch the Mets. That's right. I'm talking to you, Pirate fans. I'm talking to you, Royal fans. And I'm talking to you, Marlin fans. Oh, wait. I'm even
Nationals fan.
talking to, yes, the Nationals are a good one, but I just thought of an even better one, Benji.
Who?
The Oakland A's.
Yep. I mean, I've seen the A's lose some spectacular games, but not in this fashion, I would say.
All right, everyone. Those are the winners and the losers of the trade deadline. And we wish the best of luck to the New York Yankees. May they turn things around.
You are right. Hopefully, at least make it to the playoffs.
Well, everyone, that's all the time we have for today on Baseball Chat. Thanks so much for joining us.
For the rest of the season.